Assalamu alaikum. I am Sir Irfan Ashraf to deliver lecture to second year class, and my lecture number is 2. Students, you got very useful information about respiratory system in the last lecture, and I will continue. And these informations are important because they are related with your body and some interesting information you wanted to know. So I will start about the A1 important point. Students, look here. You have two lungs, it's clear, left lung, right lung, and your positioning of lung is closer to in the chest cavity, thoracic cavity. My fingers, these are my fingers. Look where my fingers are going. This my finger is going towards left side. Here the heart is present, and in this lung is left lung, and left lung present at heart side where heart is also present. So space for lung is little less because two things are present, and left lung has two lobes. It means left lung has only two lobes. Similarly, right lungs situated here, empty, there is no any other important organ in the chest cavity, and it consists of three lobes. Why three lobes? Space is there, chest cavity is there, and chest cavity space is there. There is no any other organ like heart is present, and that is three lobes present. Why I am telling you? Reason: when I will enter the bronchus and bronchi tubes into the lungs, I will tell you, I will divide the bronchi accordingly in reference to lobes. The lobes are present, and similar type of bronchi are also present. Numbers of bronchi, number of the bronchus, number of the respiratory tubes in the lungs depend upon the lobes. The lobes are more, the number of tubes are more, because oxygen you will give more. Similarly, another information is this information about the pleural membrane. Look here. In the heart, I was teaching you in first year that heart consists of two membrane, outer pericardial membrane, inner pericardial membrane. And what was happening in that case, I was talking to you that outer pleural membrane here in the lungs, outer pleural membrane and inner pleural membrane. Outer pleural membrane, this one outer pleural membrane, and this one is the inner pleural membrane. Similarly, in the heart, when I was teaching you, there were two pericardial membrane, outer pericardial membrane, inner pericardial membrane, and between them fluid was present. Between them fluid was present, and that fluid, why that fluid is present? Because that fluid will protect the heart. Similarly, that fluid also protect the lung. Name is different. In case of heart, the fluid is pericardial fluid. In case of here, this fluid, this is the fluid which is the pleural fluid, because that is between the pleural membrane. Now question is, sir, how the fluid protect the organs? Fluid is the part of skeletal system. This is not bone, this is not cartilage. How the fluid is able to protect these important organs? I will tell you, fluid is a shock absorber. Shock absorber mean anything. I am pushing, look here, I am now beating my body. I beat my body, look here. So now this force of my hand goes to my chest cavity, and then it goes to, look here, now you will see this one, it goes to outer pleural membrane. This pressure go to outer pleural membrane, and then this pressure goes to fluid. This pressure goes to fluid. When this pressure goes to fluid between outer and inner pleural membrane, this fluid is consist of water. And water consists of hydrogen bonding due to electronegative oxygen and electropositive hydrogen. This hydrogen bonding water, you know, water is able to bear. Water has a high boiling point, melting point. Why water has high boiling point, melting point? Reason: due to hydrogen bonding, due to oxygen electro-minus charge and hydrogen electropositive charge. This hydrogen bonding will keep the water to bear more pressure and give the quality to the fluid as a shock absorber. So all my force which was to push my chest cavity, that shifted to outer pleural membrane, and that shifted to fluid, and fluid 80%, almost 80 to 90%, that shock, this is a shock, this shock was absorbed by the fluid due to hydrogen bonding. And what happens as a result, this pressure goes very little to inner pleural membrane. This pressure goes very little to inner pleural membrane, and inner pleural membrane will not bear much pressure. Reason, because that pressure was being absorbed by the fluid present between outer pleural membrane and inner pleural membrane. Now students, come back to a important point. Look here, the important point is that how the surface area of the lungs involve in the absorption. So I will tell you 4 important points, and you will remember. I want your attention, students, because question is that why lungs are so important to absorb oxygen, and why lungs has the capacity to absorb oxygen, why lungs has the capacity to exchange the gas, why lungs has the capacity to absorb carbon dioxide from the capillary, why lungs has the capacity to have more oxygen in the lungs, why lungs have the capacity to do external respiration, why lungs has the capacity to give oxygen to the tissues in the less time, why the lungs has the capacity why lungs has the capacity to work 24 hours, why we live very long life, 60 years, 70, 100 years, and our lungs are continuously working, and they did not stop even for a second, and this because there is no storage of oxygen. What is the quality of lungs? That lungs provide 100% oxygen anytime during the lifetime, even you are sleeping, and it is providing enough oxygen all the time to all your tissues. Reason, respiratory surface of alveoli cells. You know, unit of the lungs is alveoli cell. In the last discussion we discussed unit of the lungs is the alveoli cell. That is the main cells who do the respiration. Now I talk about the 4 points. I will tell you 4 points. First point, alveoli cell membrane is the main membrane which makes the lungs a quality organ to absorb oxygen. Reason, because alveoli cell, what is the diagram of alveoli cell? It is a double membrane, and protein in the alveoli cell is a collagen and elastin, COLLAGEN, collagen and elastin, collagen and elastin. So first point, first quality alveoli cell has, that alveoli cell is moist. Alveoli cell is moist. It is wet. Reason, when any surface is wet, the gases goes easily into that cell. Diffusion become easier. Movement of the molecules from the high concentration to the low concentration, it has diffusion. So what happens? First point is that it should be moist. The first point is that your surface of the alveoli cell must be moist. Moisture should be there for efficient diffusion, so that gas easily goes into alveoli cell, because when alveoli cell gas is present. Now question is, sir, why you want to enter gas, oxygen from outside to alveoli cell? Why alveoli cell is more significant cell, and why other tubes, trachea, you are not discussing much, and you are telling me alveoli cell, you are discussing alveoli cell. So alveoli cell double membrane, alveoli cell double membrane will allow oxygen to enter into the capillary. This is the last part of respiratory system who will allow oxygen to goes into capillary. Reason, because capillaries are attached with alveoli cell. I will show the diagram. Capillaries are attached with alveoli cell. So it means that part of respiratory system which is attached with the capillary, that is alveoli cell. That's why alveoli cell is so important. So movement of the gas from capillary to alveoli cell, which gas which goes from capillary to alveoli cell? Carbon dioxide. And which gas goes from alveoli cell to the capillary? Oxygen. These two exchange of the gases is the backbone of respiratory system. So if this exchange is superior, you have very good respiratory system. If you are young, it means your alveoli cells membranes are properly working and oxygen is going clearly into the capillary, and from capillary carbon dioxide is going into your alveoli cell, and you are healthy because your oxygen exchange and carbon dioxide exchange is so efficient, and that is 100% being supplied to your tissues for oxygenation of the glucose in the mitochondria, because the capillary, once the oxygen will get, no problem. That is the motorway. That is the motorway. First target, when you enter oxygen from alveoli cell to the capillary, now that is the motorway. The capillary will transport very easily through the arteries, through arterioles, and to the and then once again to the tissues, and the tissues will get oxygen that was absorbed by the capillary from alveoli cell. So we'll go back to the second quality. Second quality, large surface area. Large surface area. Large surface area. How the large surface area is there? Large surface area. Alveoli cells should have large surface area. Lungs should have large surface area, and that is very easy. Number of alveoli cells are more in the lungs. Number of alveoli cells are more in the lungs, so they have more surface area. Cells are larger, surface area less. If I am in a room and if I divide this room in the small chambers, and I will calculate the surface area of each chamber, and then I will sum up, and then I will calculate the surface area of this all room, surface area of the number of the surface area of the sum of the surface area of all chambers will be larger. But when I will calculate the surface area of the one room in which I am sitting, so I will go from one wall and second wall, third wall, fourth wall, that is my surface area. Even room is larger, but surface area will be smaller. When I will divide this room into small chambers, and I will calculate the surface area of each chamber, because I will move through each chamber surface area, I will sum up, that surface area will be larger than the room. Chambers are small, but I am not calculating the surface area of one chamber. I am calculating the surface area of all chambers, and then I am comparing with the surface area of that room in which chambers are present. What is the key point in this information? When you divide large area, mean lungs, into small cells, more cells will come, and sum of surface area of small cells will be more. And if the large cells are present, if the large alveoli cells are present, surface area will be small. That is the key point. If you are smoker, if any person is smoking a long time, what is going on? Small alveoli cells are changing into the large alveoli cells. And when they are changing into large alveoli cells, what is happening? You tell me. Surface area, respiratory surface area of alveoli cell will decrease because room is large. When chambers were small, surface area was more. When room is large, the surface area decrease. So, sir, what will happen when surface area will decrease? Oxygen will go less into capillary. When oxygen will go less into capillary, the inspiration will disturb, and you will not get efficient oxygen, because capillary will not get oxygen. The capillary will not give oxygen to venules, veins, vena cava, arteries, arterioles. Once again the capillaries, and then come the tissues. Heart also come in the mid. You studied in first year class. So what will happen? The oxygen will not be supplied. properly to the tissues, and you will be a depth of oxygen, and you will not respire normal. Your breathing rate will be fast like this one. As you saw old men breathing when they are moving upstairs. Reason, because you need more oxygen, because your alveoli cell surface area decreased, and surface area decreased, they are unable to provide efficient oxygen to capillary. So in one inhalation you are unable to give oxygen to your tissues, so you need to get more oxygen from the outside, and you have to breathe little faster rate than the normal. Now come back to another point, students, another point which I wanted to tell you about. Just hold on, I want to indicate that point. Just hold on. Yes, I want to indicate, this is the indication. Thin surface area should be thin. Surface area should be thin. Now this is also important point. I told you that alveoli cell consists of two membranes. One is a outer membrane, one is a inner membrane, and then what will happen that from that membrane to the crossing oxygen will cross these two membranes to capillary. Now point is that, look here, if this wall is thick mean if this wall is thick, so definitely sometime the gas will consume more to move into. If this wall is thin, the gas will go easily to the outside. Similarly, I can give you examples. The thick wall will consume more time to go into capillary if thick wall is there. Alveoli cells, nature has given these two walls of alveoli cells very thin. So we are lucky we got thin walls, and these thin walls are moving oxygen properly to the capillary, and then when it will go into the capillary through the thin walls, so that is the good point. The diffusion rate will be the faster. So I told you that respiratory surface mean wall of alveoli cells. If that is thin, oxygen go faster. If that is more, mean more number of alveoli cells. And if you are not smoker, if you are not, you have no problem of infection. In coronavirus, what is happening in current coronavirus? Alveoli cells are damaging. When alveoli cells damaged, what will happen? Alveoli cells will be less in the numbers. When they will be less in the numbers, it means the surface of the alveoli cell will decrease. When surface area will decrease, what will happen? The oxygen will go less into the lungs, into the capillary. Oxygen will go less into capillary. The capillaries will send less oxygen to the heart. The heart will get less oxygen in the blood. The heart will send less oxygen to your tissues by aorta, by arteries, by arterioles, by the capillaries. And then less oxygen will go into tissue. The mitochondria is the organelle in the cell which will get less oxygen in the mitochondria. When it will get less oxygen in the mitochondria, what will happen? The oxygen will not react with glucose properly. When oxygen will not react with the glucose properly, carbon dioxide and water will not be produced, and energy will not be produced, and energy will be produced less energy will be produced, less energy will be consumed into the ATP molecules, and less ATP molecules in your pocket. You are unable to speak, you are unable to walk, you are unable to eat, you are unable to fight against coronavirus, you are unable to do any exercise. You will become ill. If I am speaking, look here, I am speaking, I am breaking my ATP molecules. My ATP molecules will break, will finish. I will feel weakness. In the Ramzan Mubarak, just before Iftari, I will not be much active. Reason my ATP molecules are very less now. They are in the borderline. So I will save those ATP molecules up to Iftari. After Iftari, when I will offer prayer and I will speak, that prayer will be very brilliant. But before Iftari, my praise, just before Iftari, my prayer and activities will not be much at a speeder rate. Reason, ATP molecules are less. Similarly, at the night time, in the Ramzan Mubarak, the people will offer long namaz in the standing status. At daytime, nature also, Allah Ta'ala also gave the Isha namaz very long. Reason, because now you have eaten a lot and you have ATP molecules, now read long namaz. So these ATP molecules is the energy storage, small packets of energy in our body. So 3 points, students, I already told you. Now we go back to very important point. I think this is the most important point, that how you respire better when you are young, and how old men respire little bit in a feeble way. That now this point you know already, but I will highlight. Blood supply should be more to the respiratory surface. Blood supply should be more in the respiratory surface. It should possess good blood supply. Now you will be thinking, sir, how the blood supply, why the blood supply is required to alveoli cell? Why blood supply is required? Reason is that blood supply will be given. Blood supply will be given to alveoli cell. Blood supply will be given to alveoli cell, then you will get oxygen from the alveoli cell to the blood. Blood supply will be given to alveoli cell, then you will remove the carbon dioxide which is deposited, which is accumulated from the tissues, which is a waste product. Then you will be able to give carbon dioxide to your alveoli cell. So therefore, better way, you should supply blood more and more to the alveoli cell. Question is, sir, how it happens? Because we cannot do. We are no more in your body. We can do from outside. I can talk from outside. I cannot do anything inside the body. I cannot change myself inside the body. I cannot change blood circulation inside the body. Who do? Allah Ta'ala do. We should note these things if we are Muslims, that you are sleeping and Allah Ta'ala is running your all systems perfectly. And you think that this is a lesson for us, that our body systems are working 24 hours and how that is working. Look here, the capillaries which are linked with alveoli cells, because you know that capillaries are richly supplied, alveoli cells are richly supplied with the blood capillaries. Once again, I will speak one point, why alveoli cells are important. Why alveoli cells are important? Because alveoli cells are richly supplied with the blood capillaries. And blood capillaries are coming from arterioles, arterioles coming from arteries coming from aorta coming from the left ventricle pump the oxygenated blood to all parts of the body. Now I will repeat this information in other way. The capillaries come from some capillaries. These capillaries consist of oxygen as well as the carbon dioxide, because that is blood is the main transporter of the gases. So capillaries, the richly supplied of the blood capillary. Richly word is important. If I will highlight this one, look here. This, yes. So that richly supplied mean that blood capillaries are many and many in alveoli cells. Their surface, alveoli surface and capillary surface is this is a capillary, this is a round shaped cells, and this is a capillary. They are just closer. These surfaces are touching with each other. Now point is raised, sir, how many capillaries? One alveoli cell is richly supplied with the blood capillaries. How richly supplied? I mean, how many, how multiple capillaries can go into the lungs? Reason I tell you, the capillaries are smaller in size. They are microscopic. They are microscopic. When they are microscopic, so definitely when they are microscopic, you are able to manage those. When you are able to manage those, yani capillaries are more. When capillaries are more, it means that you are able to manage those. We'll go back to now another point which I wanted to share. This is very important point, students. This is another fourth point I want to share you, and this is very important point which I will tell you now. I will highlight this point. Students. I will be slow in this point because this point will show you the key concept of respiratory system. I will indicate this one. Just hold on. Yes, I want to indicate this one. The point is that respiratory system should have good ventilation mechanism. Good ventilation mechanism mean that it should have enough ventilation mechanism. What is a ventilation mechanism? Now this is the question mark. If you are watching, the diffusion gradient is written on. This is a diffusion gradient. Little bit red line highlight. Diffusion gradient visible to you? Yes, visible to you. Diffusion gradient. Yes, this is the diffusion gradient. I will highlight diffusion gradient, important word. Yes, this is the diffusion gradient. So diffusion gradient, what is that? You have to create the pressure gradient. You have to create the pressure gradient. What is the pressure gradient? The difference between high concentration and the low concentration is called as pressure gradient. Is called as a pressure gradient. Difference between high concentration and low concentration is called as a pressure gradient. Now you will tell you, sir, how the pressure gradient develop? Pressure gradient develop. How pressure gradient develop? How they develop? Due to muscles. Due to muscles, diaphragm muscles and intercostal muscles. Diaphragm muscles, which are situated at the base of the chest cavity, and the intercostal muscles. In the next lecture, I think I will tell you about these muscles functions, that how you create less pressure in lung and how you create the more pressure of oxygen outside. So this difference of pressure between outside and inside, mean oxygen flows from outside to inside, and you will develop the pressure gradient. The difference between high concentration and the low concentration is called pressure gradient, and you will be able to transport the oxygen from outside to inside. That will be my next lecture, hopefully. Now go back to this information which I want to share, students, about the left lobe and the right lobe. Left lobe and the right lobe. What I told, I have to tell you once again. Yes, left lung has 2 lobes, right lung has 3 lobes. Left lung has 2 lobes. Now what is the advantage of these lobes? Left lung has 2 lobes, therefore in the left lung the bronchi will be 2. Bronchi will be 2 in the left lung, because lobes are 2. There are, in the left lung there are 2 bronchi, primary bronchi and the secondary bronchi. Similarly, in the right lung there are 3 lobes. And bronchi numbers will be 3 in the right lung. When bronchi will divide into two, one is primary bronchi, one is a secondary bronchi. Similarly, when bronchi further divide, that is called tertiary bronchi. Similarly, bronchi inside the lungs keep dividing. They will enter into bronchioles, and bronchioles will enter into final bronchioles, that is a terminal bronchiole, that changes into alveolar duct, small tube before alveoli cell, and that it will be changed into alveoli cells. And one last information, students, for today, that C-shaped cartilage I told you in the first lecture in the trachea, that will be replaced by cartilage plates, mean that cartilage will remain present in the bronchi. But difference is that will be little weak than the trachea. In the trachea, that is strong, C-shaped, incomplete cartilage present in the trachea, and cartilage plates are present, little bit weaker than the C-shaped cartilage in the bronchus. In the bronchioles, there is no cartilage. Thank you very much for today. Remember, all these information will be very useful in the upcoming informations. Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.